So I was reading an interesting post on Reddit, and it pertains to shooting wedding video for a ceremony specifically. And this person was having problems there because they set up 3 cameras, and the way they do it is they set up 2 cameras on a tripod on either side of the aisle to get the groom and the bride, to get like almost like a head-on shot. Actually, I should have went this one. To get like a head-on shot of the bride or the groom, right? Nice close-up. Then they roam around like on a gimbal or a monopod and then just kind of get whatever else they want to get. The problem they face is, they said, when I set up the cameras on the side, what happens is when people stand up, they're blocking that shot. So then now I don't have a good shot. So what I do when it comes to a church is I'll set up 1 camera in the back of the church on a very high tripod, right? I have a tripod that goes over 7 feet. So I have it jacked up so that it can, when people do stand up, it's still getting a shot of the altar. And even with the jacked all the way up, it's still not a perfect shot, but it just serves as a cutaway shot. This is not my main shot. It's going to be up on the screen for a split second. It just shows the audience, looking on. And to me, that's a little nicer than a close-up of the back of someone's head that got into your shot. Or if the church has a balcony, I'll set that camera up in the balcony and get a wide shot. And I just let it run the whole time through, right? I just hit record before the procession starts, 5-10 minutes before everything gets started. I hit record on that. And by the way, I just want to reiterate that you should have all of your cameras recording the whole ceremony. 2 cameras, 3 cameras, I don't care. Have them all recording. Do not stop the recording until the ceremony is done. This will make editing the ceremony much easier. Plus, if you have a client that after the fact asked you for a ceremony edit, now you're going to have a beautiful ceremony edit because you have all angles to choose from at all times for the whole ceremony. And since we're on the subject of editing, I know sometimes that could be a real frustration and a hassle because it takes a long time. And that's where Wanderlust comes in. I used them to do a backlog of edits that I had, and I was pleasantly surprised by the quality of the work. It was phenomenal. They would do revisions if I needed them, but I think in most cases I didn't even need a revision because the work was really that good. And the footage that you're watching right now on the screen, these are some of the edits that they did for me, and you can see how amazing it looks. By the way, there's also a discount code in the description below, so you can go ahead and click on that. And if you want to work with them, please click on that link. You won't be disappointed and you'll save a little bit of money. And then my main camera is with me either on a gimbal, but usually for a church ceremony because they go so long, I'm usually not on a gimbal, I'm on a monopod. So I'll be on a monopod as the procession comes down on that camera. And I usually have on a lens that is like either 17 to 70. I'm on a Sony FX30. So I'll be using like my Sony, my Tamron 17 to 70 f2.8, or depending on how bright the church is, sometimes I'll just go with my f4 lens, my 18 to 105 Sony lens. I love that lens because it has the power zoom. I can zoom in far. I can zoom out to 18 millimeters if I need to. So it gives me a wide range. And by the way, I made a video about those 2 lenses on my channel. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a little card above you can click on and you can go check it out. And now after the procession is done and the bride is handed to the groom, I then walk maybe midway through the aisle and I just shoot from the center the whole time. That's it. At that point, sometimes I'll make my way back to the wide shot camera because that will have a zoom lens on it too. And I'll zoom in slightly so that where I'm standing in the middle of the aisle, you can't see me and you're just seeing like up front. You're seeing the altar and maybe like, the first, 4 pews or something like that. Or maybe even more. It just kind of depends on the size of the church. But that's how I shoot it. And I'm just standing there in the center the whole time. Maybe sometimes a little bit off center, left or right. Just kind of depends on what the photographer is doing. And I always communicate to the photographer what I'm going to do way before we even do it. So they know that I'm going to be there. And sometimes if they need to they just want to get a wide shot of the whole space, I'll move for a second and let them do that. And then I'll get back to being in the center. And sometimes they'll go in front of me. They'll bow down, under my lens, and they'll get some shots. They kind of work around me. This person who left this post said that sometimes when they're shooting that side angle of the bride or the groom, depending on where they put their camera, they're not getting a good angle on them. I know everybody wants to get that like close up, that's almost like as if the bride is looking right into the lens type of thing, or like right off of the lens, or either the groom doing the same thing. Sometimes those are just really hard to get. And I think when you're shooting solo, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get the perfect shot. And what you don't realize, to the bride and the groom, almost any shot you get of them is the perfect shot. That has been my experience. Even when I mess up, they think it was great. So don't get so caught up with trying to get the perfect angle, the perfect shot, especially when you're shooting solo. Just get it done. And the way I just mentioned it gets you the perfect shot down the aisle. So you're getting the perfect angle on the kiss. You get both of their expressions. Even though it's a side profile, you're getting both of their expressions at the same time. Unless, I know at churches sometimes some priests do weird things where they're not looking at each other, but they're looking at the priest. So then you're getting their back. So they put their back to the audience. I don't know why certain priests do that. It rarely happens, but that's another tip for you. Try to figure that out beforehand. Ask the priest, hey, when we exchange vows and we do the kiss, are the bride and the groom going to be facing each other so that we see the side of their faces here in the audience, or are they going to be facing you? Because that's a big deal. Because then now you gotta walk around the altar and get some other angle. But hey, if you got to do that, you got to do that. So that's why you're on a monopod or a gimbal. You run around, you switch angles, you shoot the other way so that they're looking at you, and the crowd is basically looking at you too. And if I'm shooting with two shooters, I pretty much still shoot the same exact way, except I'll have the second shooter get those side angle shots for me that I wouldn't normally be able to get. And just mix it up and get whatever creative things you see that you like, just go get it. Because it's all icing on the cake at that point. And that's how I handle it. And let me tell you something, I've been doing this for a lot of years. And even though I'm not getting the angles you might get when you set up 4 different cameras and have another person running around and a third person running around, the bride and the grooms never complain. If you are just starting out as a videographer and you are not sure what equipment you would need to shoot live events, such as a wedding, then go to the description and click on the link for my complete solo wedding filmmaker kit. It's a free PDF that can get you started. And if you have problems miking the bride, I have a technique that I've been using for over 10 years that works like a charm every single time. Click on the vid to see what I'm talking about.